If you're navigating divorce or separation right now, you're probably feeling overwhelmed, uncertain, and maybe even a little lost. You're in the right place. This is the Soft Landing Divorce Podcast, where we prove that even in the midst of ending a marriage, you can move forward with dignity, clarity, and yes, peace. But here's what makes us different. Ken and Sarah are going to share solutions and strategies that will open your eyes to things unseen by most, the approaches that can save you time, money, and emotional turmoil, but that traditional divorce professionals won't tell you exist. Today, they're diving deep into how to win a peaceful divorce settlement without endless emotional stress, even if your kids are caught in the middle. Whether you're just starting to consider separation or you're deep in the process, our goal is simple: to help you and your children land as softly as possible on the other side. You'll discover why the conventional approach often backfires and learn practical strategies that actually work. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive in with Ken and Sarah as they reveal what the industry doesn't want you to know.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Soft Landing Divorce Podcast. I've got something really exciting to share with you today, and super practical stuff that could literally change how you approach your divorce journey. Ken here, and I'm joined by my colleague Sarah, who's going to blow your mind with some groundbreaking insights about mediation ground rules.
Thanks, Ken. God, I'm so pumped to talk about this because, well, honestly, this is where the magic happens in divorce mediation. When people get these ground rules right from the start, it's like the difference between walking through a minefield and, taking a clear path to where you want to be.
Okay, so before we dive deep, Sarah, let me introduce you properly to everyone listening. Meet Sarah Bates. She's a certified divorce specialist and basically the brain behind Naked Divorce Filer by DTSW. Over a decade in family law, freelance clerk experience. She's the one empowering people to navigate uncontested filings without breaking the bank or, losing their sanity.
Oh, thanks, Ken. Yeah, I'm super passionate about mediation, and these ground rules we're talking about today, they're not just suggestions. They're your roadmap to keeping things civil, efficient, and honestly way less emotionally draining than people expect.
So, Sarah, when you say ground rules, what exactly are we talking about here? Because most people hearing this are probably thinking, great, more rules to follow when my life's already falling apart.
Oh man, I totally get why people think that way. But here's the thing. These aren't restrictions, they're actually your safety net. Think of mediation ground rules as the guardrails that keep you on the road instead of, careening off into the emotional ditch where things get messy and expensive real fast.
That's actually a really interesting way to put it. So we're talking about structure that actually gives you more freedom?
Exactly. And here's what gets me so excited about this, Sal. We've got this proven template with 8 specific ground rules that both parties can literally print out, sign, and bring to the mediation table. It's like having a pre-mediation agreement that sets everyone's expectations up front.
Okay. Now you've got my attention. 8 proven ground rules. Walk me through this. What does this actually look like in practice?
All right, so first off, and this is huge, the very first rule is about shifting your focus from past grievances to future goals. I can't tell you how many mediations I've seen get completely derailed because people want to relitigate every argument from the last 5 years instead of, figuring out how to move forward.
That sounds easier said than done, though, right? If you're sitting across from someone who maybe hurt you or broke promises, how do you just flip that switch?
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, but that's exactly why having it as a ground rule helps. When both parties agree upfront that past grievances are off the table, you're basically giving each other permission to focus on what actually matters going forward. It's like, well, okay, maybe this isn't the best analogy, but it's like agreeing to look through the windshield instead of the rearview mirror while you're driving.
I like that. So what's next? What other ground rules are we talking about?
The second big one is mutual respect and dignity. And I know, that might sound super obvious, but you'd be amazed how quickly things can spiral when people forget to treat their soon-to-be ex-spouse with basic human dignity. The rule here is acknowledging that this person had value in your marriage, regardless of how things are ending.
Wow, that's got to be really hard for some people, especially if there's been betrayal or other serious issues.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, that's exactly when this rule becomes most important. Because here's the thing, when you can maintain dignity in the process, you're not just making mediation more productive, you're actually protecting your own emotional well-being too. It's like choosing to take the high road, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve better than carrying all that anger and resentment.
Mm-hmm. I can see how that would actually be liberating in a way. What about kids? I'm guessing children's well-being is somewhere in these ground rules.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that's actually rule number 3, and it's non-negotiable. The ground rule here is that children's needs come first, period. Both parents need to commit to staying involved in their kids' lives and making decisions based on what's genuinely best for them, not what feels good in the moment or what might hurt the other parent.
So we're talking about putting aside the adult drama and focusing on what the kids actually need to thrive through this transition.
Exactly. And here's what's so powerful about making this a stated ground rule. It gives both parents something bigger than their own hurt feelings to focus on. When you're about to say something nasty or make a decision out of spite, you've got this reminder that there are little people counting on both of you to be better than that.
That's really powerful. Now, what about the actual communication piece? Because I imagine a lot of people struggle with how to even talk to each other during this process.
Yes. So productive communication is actually several of our ground rules rolled into one framework. We're talking about establishing clear discussion expectations. No surprises, no ultimatums, no personal attacks or criticism. The goal is creating an environment where both parties can express their ideas fully without, walking on eggshells or getting defensive.
How does that actually work, though? Like, what does no surprises mean in practice?
Great question. So no surprises means if you're going to bring up a major issue or proposal, you give the other person a heads up beforehand. It's like the difference between ambushing someone with a huge financial demand versus saying, hey, I'd like to discuss the house situation at our next session. It allows people to mentally prepare instead of going into fight or flight mode.
And no ultimatums. That's probably a big one too, right?
Huge. Ultimatums are basically conversation killers. The moment someone says take it or leave it or this is my final offer, you've just shut down the entire collaborative process. Instead, the ground rule is about presenting options and staying open to creative solutions that maybe neither person thought of initially.
Interesting. So it sounds like these rules are really about creating space for actual problem solving rather than just fighting.
That's exactly it. And that brings us to another crucial ground rule. Trusting the mediation process itself. Both parties need to commit to giving the mediator the space to do their job, which means not trying to manipulate the process or going behind the scenes to gain some kind of advantage.
Trust in the process, but what if someone's never been through mediation before? How do you trust something you don't understand?
That's such a good point. And honestly, that's where having these ground rules up front becomes even more valuable. When you know what to expect, when you know that everyone's agreed to the same rules of engagement, It takes away a lot of that anxiety about the unknown. It's like, well, think of it as having a roadmap for a trip you've never taken before.
Okay. So we've covered focus on the future, mutual respect, children's well-being, productive communication, and trust in the process. What else is in this framework?
So we also have rules about confidentiality. What happens in mediation stays in mediation, which allows people to be more open and honest without worrying that their words will be used against them later. And then there's equal speaking opportunities, making sure both voices are heard and valued throughout the process.
Equal speaking opportunity, I bet that's trickier than it sounds, especially if one person is more vocal or assertive than the other.
Oh, absolutely. That's actually where the mediator's skill really comes into play. But having it as a stated ground rule gives them permission to step in and redirect when needed. It's like having a referee who can call a timeout when one player is dominating the field too much.
Now, Sarah, you mentioned there are also guidelines for setting intentions. How does that fit into this whole frameworks?
Oh man, I'm so glad you asked about that. So we've got 3 simple guidelines for setting intentions, and they're honestly just as important as the ground rules themselves. The first one is about getting clear on what success actually looks like for both parties.
What do you mean by what success looks like? Isn't success just getting divorced?
Well, getting divorced is the legal outcome, but success in mediation is so much bigger than that. Success might mean both parents feeling good about the custody arrangement, or both parties feeling like the financial split was fair, or being able to co-parent effectively after everything's finalized. It's about defining what winning means when both people need to feel okay about the outcome.
So it's not about one person getting everything they want and the other person getting screwed over?
Exactly, and that's actually the second intention guideline. Approaching mediation as a collaborative problem-solving process rather than a zero-sum game. When you shift from how do I win to how do we both get our core needs met, everything changes. The whole dynamic becomes more creative and honestly more human.
What's the third guideline?
The third one is about committing to the process itself, meaning both parties agree to show up fully, be honest about their needs and concerns, and work in good faith toward resolution. It's like promising to actually try rather than just going through the motions or looking for ways to sabotage things.
So to everyone listening, what does this actually mean for someone who's considering divorce or maybe already in the process? How does having these ground rules and intentions change the experience?
Oh my gosh, the difference is night and day. First off, you're looking at reduced conflict because everyone knows what's expected and what's off limits. Then you've got faster resolutions because you're not wasting time on emotional drama or power plays. And honestly, the cost savings alone make this worth it. Mediation is generally way less expensive than litigation, but effective mediation with clear ground rules, that's even more efficient.
And what about the emotional piece? Because divorce it's inherently emotional, right?
Absolutely, and that's where these ground rules really shine. When you've got a respectful, structured process, when everyone knows what to expect and feels heard, it dramatically reduces the stress and emotional strain. It's like the difference between having surgery with anesthesia versus having surgery while you're fully awake and feeling everything. The outcome might be similar, but the experience is completely different.
That's a powerful analogy. Now, for someone listening who's thinking, okay, this sounds great in theory, but how do I actually implement this? What would you tell them?
Great question. So the beauty of what we've developed is that it's super practical. You literally print out the template with all 8 ground rules and the 3 intention guidelines. Both parties review and sign it, and you bring it to your mediation sessions. It's like having a pre-mediation agreement that sets everyone's expectations up front.
And if someone's spouse isn't initially on board with this kind of structured approach?
You know what? That actually happens more often than you'd think. And here's the beautiful thing. When you present this as, hey, I found this framework that could help us get through this more efficiently and with less stress for both of us, most people are willing to at least try it because honestly, nobody wants divorce to be harder than it has to be.
Makes sense. And if they're still resistant?
Well, that's actually valuable information too. If someone's unwilling to commit to basic respect and productive communication, that tells you a lot about whether mediation is going to be successful. Sometimes you need to know that before you invest a lot of time and emotional energy in the process.
So these ground rules also serve as kind of a litmus test for whether mediation is the right approach?
Absolutely. And that's actually one of the hidden benefits we don't talk about enough. Having this conversation up front, getting both parties to commit to these guidelines, it's like a pre-flight check that helps you determine if you're ready for takeoff or if you need to address some issues first.
Now, Sarah, let's get practical for a minute. Someone's listening to this and they're thinking, I want this template. I want to try this approach. What's their next step?
So easy. We've made this super accessible because we know people need practical tools, not just theory. You can download the complete template with all 8 ground rules and the 3 intention guidelines. It's available as a free resource. You just fill out a simple form and get immediate access to everything we've been talking about.
And this isn't just theoretical stuff. This is what you actually use with your clients?
Oh, absolutely. This template has been tested in real mediations with real couples facing real problems. I've seen it work for people who thought they were going to end up in a nasty court battle, and instead they're actually communicating effectively and reaching agreements that work for everyone involved.
That's incredible. So we're talking about a proven system, not just good ideas.
Exactly. And here's what I love about it. Once you've used this framework, you realize that a respectful, well-structured divorce process isn't just possible. It's actually achievable for most people if they have the right tools and guidelines.
So as we start to wrap things up here, let's talk about the bigger picture. How does having effective mediation ground rules change not just the divorce process, but maybe the whole trajectory of what comes after?
Oh, wow. That's such an important question because the ripple effects are huge. When you handle your divorce with respect and clear communication, you're setting the foundation for whatever relationship you'll have going forward. If you've got kids, you're modeling healthy conflict resolution. If you don't have kids, you're still ending this chapter of your life with dignity intact.
So it's not just about getting divorced, it's about how you get divorced?
Exactly. And honestly, the people who use these ground rules consistently report feeling better about themselves in the process, even when they're going through something really difficult. It's like choosing to take the high road, not because it's easy, but because it leads to a better destination.
Have you ever thought about it that way? I mean, for everyone listening, the idea that the way you handle your divorce could actually set you up for a healthier future, better co-parenting, less resentment, that's pretty powerful stuff.
It really is, and that's why I'm so passionate about this work. When people understand that they have choices, that they don't have to let divorce become this destructive, expensive, emotionally devastating process, it changes everything. They realize they actually have some control over how this plays out.
So, final question, and this is for everyone who's been listening and maybe recognizing themselves in this conversation. What would you say to someone who's thinking, I wish I'd known about this 6 months ago, or I'm scared my situation is already too far gone for this kind of approach?
You know what? It's never too late to introduce more structure and respect into the process. Even if things have gotten heated or adversarial, proposing these ground rules can actually be a way to reset and say, hey, let's try a different approach. I've seen couples who were barely speaking to each other successfully implement these guidelines and completely change the trajectory of their divorce.
So there's always hope for a more peaceful resolution.
Absolutely. And honestly, sometimes the people who've been through the most conflict are the most motivated to try something different. When you've experienced how exhausting and expensive the adversarial approach can be, these ground rules start looking pretty attractive.
All right. So as we wrap things up, I want everyone listening to really think about this. What might you do differently now that you understand how effective mediation ground rules can transform your divorce journey? And remember, you can get that free template we've been talking about. Just head over to the show notes for the link.
And Ken, if I can add one more thing, remember that choosing mediation with clear ground rules isn't just about avoiding court or saving money, though those are great benefits. It's about taking control of your future and handling this transition in a way that you can feel good about years from now.
Perfect way to end it. So stay curious, keep those questions coming, and remember, a peaceful divorce isn't just a dream. It's an achievable goal when you have the right framework. Until next time, keep navigating with intention.
Thanks, Ken, and thanks to everyone for listening. Here's to your soft landing.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. Here's the truth. Divorce doesn't have to be the battlefield the industry often portrays. You have more options than anyone's told you, and navigating divorce with peace is possible using intentional mediation strategies that put your family first. You're stronger and more capable than you realize. If today's conversation sparked something in you, here's how to keep this momentum going. First, hit subscribe on the Soft Landing Divorce podcast. These game-changing insights could be exactly what your family needs. Second, drop us a review to help other families discover there's a gentler path through this transition. And if someone in your circle is facing separation or divorce, share this episode. Sometimes the most powerful gift is showing someone they're not alone and there's hope ahead. You'll find all our resources, show notes, and ways to connect right in the podcast description. Remember, we're not just here once a week. We're creating a movement of families who refuse to let divorce define their story. Subscribe now because we're just getting started with the strategies that could transform your journey. Until next time, keep moving toward your soft landing. You've got this, and we've got you. That's Ken and Sarah. See you soon. Disclaimer. This podcast provides general information only, not legal advice. Consult a qualified attorney for guidance specific to your situation.